Okay, we're doing a Mishnah that was describing again all things that have to do because of Darkei Shalom. This whole digression we've had a tremendous amount of beginning with Aper Shaleach, but taking a Olam, and now we're into the Darkei Shalom. So yesterday we saw about ditching, who gets first in the ditch. We saw the previous day why the kohen gets first. We said the Metzias of a cheret, and we didn't get that yet. And we're up to now the trappings by Mitsuda of the trappings that Darkei Shalom. Says the Gemara. We're up to the bottom of Samich Omid base. Bottom line. Mitsuda Schayv Ofos V'Dagim Yesh Mishum Darkei Shalom. In other words, it's mashma. If your friend has a trap, midoraisa, you'll be able to go ahead, and there's something in the trap, an animal caught in the trap, you'll be able to take it, and you wouldn't be chayiv for gezel. But mifnei darkei shalom, they said you cannot do that. Correct? The Gemara now will qualify what type of trap are we speaking about. So if it's a trap that has some type of receptacle area, then there would not be any machlokes between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi. Again, Rabbi Yossi said in that case there would be a din of gezel derabanan, like there'll be a din of gezel derabanan. But if it's an area that has a receptacle, then no one would disagree, because once it has a receptacle, then your kli is koina. We know that the objects that can be koina for a person. For example, a person's chatzah, a person's dalet amis, that. So too, a person has a kli that has a receptacle that would acquire the animal. So there's no machlokes over there. Even the Tanakam would say that would be gezel deraisa. Where's the machlokes darkei shalom and gezel derabanan? Ki pligi. The machlokes is ki pligi. Where's the machlokes? Is the lechi the kukari. Rashi says lechi is a hook, and kukari is some type of cord, a trap with I guess a netting, which does not have a receptacle area. Then the Chacham would say, in fact, a person would be able to go ahead and take it because there was no kinyan. It never was in the reshus of the owner, because again, where's the kinyan being made? Ostensibly, it's being trapped in a forest, which is reshus harabim, a public domain. At least the Indian animals, it's hefker. Again, the animal would be a wild animal, would be hefker, and therefore it would not be koina. So therefore, you will be able to take it. Says this Rabbi says Darkei Shalom, says Rabbi Yossi. That would be gezel derabanan. That'd be gezel derabanan. And we said the same thing by the Metzias of the cheresh of shaita. Cheresh of shaita, they can't acquire something. If they Darkei Shalom, we will go ahead and let them keep what they do. Says Rabbi Yossi, if you take it away from them, it's gezel derabanan. Right. Amrav Chisda gezel gomer midivrayim. Gesel Gomer Devrayim. When it says Rabbi Yossi says Gesel Gomer, it doesn't mean Deraisa, means Devrayim. L'may nafkamina lo yitzia b'dayonim. So if a person would be such a despicable guy to go over to a cheresh who finds something and take it away from him, according to the Tanakama, he's not a good guy. He's over in Darkei Shalom, but he'll be able to keep it. According to Rabbi Yossi, who says it's Gesel Gomer Devrayim, the Chachamim will be able to take it away from that despicable individual. Okay, that would be the nafkamina, the machlokes between the chachamim of that being gezel gomer, darkei shalom versus Rabbi Yossi that it's gezel gomer. Okay, so ani, I think the final din. If you look at again, reiterate, going back, ani hamenakiv barosh chazis, an ani is clapping. He has some type of implement, a stick, a rod. He's hitting the olives, and the olives are falling from the top of the tree. Masha tachtav gezel if darkei shalom. If a person would come along, after all this ani, he didn't acquire it. He's going ahead and hitting it. So where's this acquisition? So and it's falling to the ground. So a person is going to come along and say, Yasha kochacha, thank you very much for going ahead and getting the olives that are at the top of the tree, and now they're underneath the tree. I'm able to get them easily. If they got Darkei Shalom, they said that person can't take it. And on that, Rabbi Yossi said, Gezel Gomer. So then another example. Okay. Now, says the Gemara qualifies this thing. Ani amenakiv b'reisha. So, Tana, im likate, if the ani took it in his hand, v'nosam biyad, harizeh gesel gomer. So if the oni, guys, look at me, the oni's at the top of the tree, he's banging with his stick, and he never comes in contact with his hand to be acquire it, it's falling down. He never acquired it. He just facilitated that it'd be easier for him to pick it up off the ground. If a guy comes along, there was no acquisition, he could take it. If not for Daka Shalom, says Rabbi Yossi, that would be Gesel D'Rabbanan. However, let's say the oni would go ahead, be at the top of the tree. He's gathering it with his hands, and he can't keep on gathering with his hands, and he drops it down. Then, since he had it in his hands, that would be an acquisition, and anyone who would take it, then it would be what Gesel D'Oraisa. Okay, that's the nafkamina between clapping it with a stick and taking it in your hands. Rav Kahana, an interesting case of Kahana, the great Rav Kahana. He was going to Hutzul. Chazi Lugabi saw this individual that a shadei ufya, the konotrin tamre. He was taking a stick and throwing it at the tree, and as a result, the dates were falling down. What did he do? Also, kamanke kriyachol. Rav Kahana went, took them, and ate them. Amalei. So said this individual to Rav Kahana, you didn't see that I took it with my hand and threw it down. And since I took it with my hand, you're not allowed to take it because I acquired it. Amalei, Rav Kahana said, so you come from what? You come from the place of Rabbi Yeshia, Kori Allah. Rav Kahana referred to Rabbi Yeshia as Vitzadik Yisrael. Very interesting that you were able to go ahead, Rabbi Yoshia, and you have your people cutting from a tree. They're lamdanim. They're lamdanim. They know the halacha that if a person goes ahead and takes it in his hands, that he acquires it. Person takes it in his hands, that he goes ahead and he acquires it. Right? Okay. Now let me ask you a question. So Rav Kahana, the guy's clapping at the top of the tree. He's taking a stick and throwing it. Rav Kahana comes along and takes it. Mashma, because he didn't acquire it, he's taking it. What happened to Daka Shalom? Rav Kahana is an Amori, he saw a Mishnah. How is he able to take it in the first place? Even if the guy never took it in his hands, how is Rav Kahana able to go underneath the tree and take the dates? After all, the guy was koined as Daka Shalom, not koined as Daka Shalom, you shouldn't take it. So how could Rav Kahana take it? So come out look at Kasha. Let's see Taisus, guys. Shadi ufya midikla pirish bekunchis ufya maklois. He was hitting it with sticks. The kasha, the Rav Kahana heichi havi minkit rachel. How in the world could the great Rav Kahana taking these dates and eating them? Umilay habi chayer sedarke shalom. In other words, even if he didn't get it in his hands, still it's darke shalom. V'nira k'Rabbeinu Chananel. So therefore, because of this question, we're going to have a different shot. What does it mean that shadi ufya? Shepirish ufya is charyus shel dekel. The charyus of the dekel, guys, is the palm, the leaf part. In other words, he wants to use the palm shoots, right? So he wasn't mechavim for the paris. He was mechavim for the shoots. So therefore, the ufya over here is the palm shoots, right? The havishadi min adekel. He was the natre tamre. So he was going ahead and he was hitting the palms and the dekel was falling down. Rav Kahana avisava shloihoy choishes min aperis elman chibris. He wasn't thinking about the paris, he was thinking about the shoots. Amaloi anabi yodei shetzinu the gesel nami ika. So in other words, Rashi Taisus gives us a little hint that how could Rav Kahana, had Rav Kahana known he was hitting the dates directly, of course he wouldn't have taken it, but he wasn't hitting the dates. His kavanah was to get the chirios, the shoots that the dates were attached to. So he was unaware that he was trying to get the dates, and therefore he took them. And then he told him, the guy said, no, I took it in my hand, and there we refrained. Okay, that would be a nice teretz to a difficult question. Okay, the final din of the Mishnah was an interesting din, that we know that if Goyim would come along and they would indulge in the matnas aniyim of leket shikva peya, we in fact would not rebuke them, we would not stop them. And even as the Gemara says, let's say a guy comes along when he wants tzedakah. So just like you give tzedakah to the aniyim, you would give tzedakah to the goyim. not because you mekayim a mitzvah tzedakah, not because there's a chiyuv of tzedakah, but if they dark shalom, the sensitivity, not to cause hatred between the aniyah goyim to the Jews, we would give them what? We would give them tzedakah. If you go to a hospital and you're visiting a Jew, go ahead and go over to a goy and say how you're feeling. You'll be mevaka. And in addition, the koivrei meisei nachrim and meisei Yisrael. Now, don't be misled to think that you bury them with the Jew. Look at Rashi right away. In meisei Yisrael, loy b'kivrei Yisrael, not in the same kever as Yisrael. You would not go ahead and bury them in the same kever. Ella misaskem behem im motzum harugim im Yisrael. If you find goyim that were killed by Yisrael, you should go ahead and bury them, be oisuk with them, but not bury them in a Jewish grave. Why? What's all this for? Because mifnei darkei shalom. All of this would be accomplished mifnei what? Because of darkei shalom. Okay, very nice. The next sugya, this is the final parak of darkei shalom of Shef Nezikin, and the final digression. And then with Be'ez Hashem tomorrow we'll be getting back to what? At least to Gitin. Tomorrow we'll get back to Masech to Gitin. And there is a din of Shemitah. Now, Shemitah fruit you're able to keep in your house up until a certain point. As long as it's available in the field to the animals, you can keep it in your house. Once it's not available to once it's not available to the animals in the field, whatever you have in the house of that specific species, the same one, you'd have to go ahead and take it out. That's called the Zman Habir. That's the Zman of removal. You have to remove it. You can then go ahead and be take it from Hefker, because it's Hefker, but there's a din of Zman Habir that you have to go ahead and get it out. This person that we're in discussion with Chayish, that he is over in the Zman Habir, that even if it's not available in the field, he's still keeping him in his residence. So this says the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah that Elas Isha L'Chaverta, a woman is able to lend to a friend, Achashuda ala Shvius. This friend we're suspicious of this individual that she does not go ahead and remove the species after the beer is finished, at this amount of beer. So she's choshed on working with Peiris Shvius. And you could go ahead and lend her a kli. Now, even though with this kli you're lending her, such as napa, a sifter, ukavara, a colander, reichayim, a mill, vitaner, and an oven, all these things which are leading to indirect averis, because she's going to be using what? The oisik uperish shmita, you could do that. So that's indirect. Avoloi tavar, you directly cannot go ahead and be borer to sort out the tfuah. Nor are you able to go ahead and grind with her. You won't be able to grind with her. That you cannot do. That you cannot do. Says Rashi, ima l'saya, to help her. You're not able to help those who are over avera at the time of the avera. To go ahead and give her an object, to facilitate her doing an avera indirectly, that you're able to do by lending her the various kalim that we mentioned. Conversely, you would not. Did we see him? Do we see that shleim? Right. Conversely, one would not be able to directly go ahead and work with them, because then you messiah Rashi's lashon, you would messiah on oivri avera b'shas the avera. So that's the Indian, the Shemitah produce. That's the Shemitah fruitus. A second din. Eishes chaver. A chaver is a person who's makbid, certainly on halacha and nisav v'tumah v'tayra. Mashelis eishes ama oretz, who is choshid not only for meiser, not taking off meiser rishon, and also tumah. You could lend to them nafra ukvara. You could lend to them a sifter and a colander, ubayreres, and you're able to sort, v'toichenes, and you're able to grind, umirakedes, and you're able to miraked, is a type of separating, ima. And the Gemara is going to go ahead and ask the obvious question. Why by Chodesh Shavuos were you not able to go ahead and facilitate an action? Where over here, by Eishes Ama Oretz, you are able to go ahead and act upon it. It's a clear difference between the two. By Shemitah, we only allowed you to lend the kalim, but not to do an action. Over here, by the Ama Oretz, the Eishes Ama Oretz, you're even able to facilitate an action. You're able to do an action. However, once the water goes in, and they're going to go ahead and make a dough, and now we're discussing about the Isser of Chala. Chala has a din of Truma Da'araisa. Then Loisiga Ima. Then you're not able to touch the dough with her, because at the time of the Gilgal of this, you have a Chi of Chala, and Nimsa, you'll be helping a woman be Matama Chala with an Amoritz, which is not what permitted, and it's also cause Tuma to Chala. The Fishe Machzikin, you're not Oive Aveira, right? Because you're not be able to help people Oive Aveira. The Kulan Loy Amru, what they permitted to go ahead and lend Kalim and to help, Elam Fnei Shalom. Really, in other words, she comes to your house and she says, she's Choshid, you're Choshid on Shemitah. She comes to your house, can I borrow a calendar? And you're going to say, no, you're Choshid on Shemitah. That is not the best idea for having, good neighborly manners, right? It's not going to go ahead and lead to anything good. The Darka Shalom, you're able to go ahead and lend the Kli. Okay? When you see the goyim in the field, right, you give them a bracha. In other words, you give them a bracha. They're in the fields, they're going ahead, they're working it. Go ahead and give them a bracha. Right? But you're not machzik Yisrael in the fields. You ask the guy how he's doing. All this shalom. Okay, today's daf is going to focus on the chilik between the first case and the second case. In the case of Shemitah, you were not able to go ahead and continue help them do the action. Mashen came when it came to what? To by the Meiser, the Indian Meiser, again, there's two guys, there's two points. By the Amoritz v'chayish for two things, Meiser and Tumah. By Shemitah, it's one thing, the Shvias Dikadin, doing work, parish Shvias, that was illegally there in the house after this Manabir. By Amoritz v'chayish for two things, v'chayish a Meiser, and also what? Also Tumah. So says the Gemara. Maishna Resha, that you were not able to help by Shemitah, Umaishna Seifa, that you were able to help what? By the Amoritz. Amar Abaya, Roiv Amoritz Meisrin Heim. Okay, what are you worried about? You're worried about working with Maisa, produce that wasn't taken Maisa. Most of the Goyim, they go ahead and they take it off. So Midaraisa, they take it off. And the Chachamim were mitakin that for the miyat and to asa their payers, correct? In other words, you're going to go, what are you doing? You're helping them in a final process to use payers that were not tithed. Since Roiv Midoraisa tithed, if they darka shalom was only chash the rabbanon, if they darka shalom, go ahead and work with untithed fruit. That's the teretz of what? Of a buyer. So it's in other words, it's a meiser dikadin. The heter in the second half, is a meiser dikadin. So again, according to Abaya, the problem with dealing with the Amoritz was the Meiser component. On the Meiser component, since Midoraisa, Roiv do take it off. It's only Chashash Rabbanan that don't. If they dark Shalom, the Chacham said, go ahead, and you could not only lend the Kalim, you can even help. Masha'enke, my Shemitah, which is a Doraisa de Kechiyev, right? Therefore, as Rashi said, the Messiah, someone who's over using Paris over his man beer, since it's the Raisa, you would not be able to do it. Guys, good? Again, Kasha Teretz, right? Kasha Teretz, good Teretz, right? Very good. That's the Teretz of Abaya. Rabbi gives a much more lomdish Teretz, and Rabbi is the till Rabbi is going to deal with the Tumah component, guys. Rabbi is going to deal with the Tumah component of what? Of the Amoritz. So now, Rabbi Amar, Hacha ba'Amoritz to Reb Meir. When it's speaking about an Amoritz, we're speaking the Amoritz of Reb Meir. The Tumah v'Taira de Rabbanon. And the Tumah and Taira over here is only what? Is only a Tumah de Rabbanon. It's not a Tumah de Raisa. We're dealing with Tumah Rabbanon, the Tanya. Ez Amaretz, which is what is considered Amaretz, is this vague term Amaretz. Kol she'ena oichel chulin b'tayra. Now, fellas, there's no deraisa dikadin that a person has to go ahead and eat his chulin b'tayra. The din of tumah b'tayra is in truma. By truma, there's a din of going ahead. But let's say a person is we've had this throughout Shas, Hasidim who are makbid to treat their chulin like truma. And therefore they were very careful regarding going to the mikvah and their hands and everything. We saw Shaul was makbid to eat his chulin b'tayra. Therefore, when David did not appear the first day, right, by the Sudas of Reish Chodesh, he was chayish that he was what? He was tamei. So no, the people throughout Shas, Avraham Avinu was makbid to eat chulin b'tayra. Therefore, he did not go ahead and after Sarah Imenu made for the Malachim, made Shloshim Kemachs, Lushi Vasiyugos. He didn't serve the bread. Rashi said because he was matama the bread. It wasn't truma. But you see throughout history that people, Hasidim, Mamish were makbid. That's what we're talking about over here. We're talking about not the Maisa. We're talking about truma and the tuma. And what's the tuma? It's speaking about chulin. And since it's speaking about chulin, it's chulin. It's the rabbanon. Since it's the rabbanon, if they dark shalom, you would be able to go ahead and even help the Amaretz go ahead in the rabbanon dika tuma situation. You will be able to do it. Because the Amaretz over here is the Amaretz of Meir, who says that anyone who doesn't eat chulin b'tayra, the chachamim kol shein a ma'isa peiroisa. Loit the chachamim, of course it can't be, because if you don't take off ma'isa, then you won't be able to help. Again, loit the chachamim, you won't be able to help. What are you doing then? There's guys in the Reisha, look at me. In the Reisha by Shemitah, you couldn't do it because it's the Raisa. In the Sefer, if it was Maisa Deraisa, you won't be able to help. Why are we speaking to help? Because we're not speaking about an Amaretz l'chachomim that you'd have a problem with the Maisa. It's speaking about the Amaretz of Meir. Rav Meir says, no, mid Deraisa, they do take it off. We're only chayish that what? They don't treat the chulin like what? Like truma. That's what we're speaking about. So it's a Darabana situation. Once it's a Darabana situation, if they dark a shalom, we'll even let them go ahead what? And help. That's the difference in the Reisha and the Sefer. So Reisha Shemitah Deraisa, no help. Sefer the Rabbanon Chulin Remeya, you can help. That's the teretz of Rava. Read the Gemara. I got a problem with that teretz. We have one addendum. After that case, once the water got in, then you can't help anymore. Because what are we worried about? We're worried about challah. Mashma, now we're introducing tumah when? Only after it got wet. Mashma, the case before, was a Maisa problem, not a Truma problem, not a Tuma problem. I like the chiluk, guys, we made between Maisa and Tuma. It really gives you a nice understanding of the two. Clearly, Abai was dealing with the Maisa problem, and Rabbi was dealing with the Tuma problem. So Gemara is asking now, Rabbi seems to introduce the Tuma problem in the latter case, when it gets wet and mixed, and now there's a challah situation of Truma. Mashma, in the case before, was a Maisa problem, not a Tuma problem. Good. Says the Gemara, Midik 20 Seifa, Mishikatlas Amayim Siga Ima, do not touch it. Michlal, we can infer the Reisha, Lav Bituma V'Tayra Skinan. And it must be speaking about Maisa. So how can you say it's according to Reb Meir, and it's a problem of Tuma? And for the Gemara, Reisha V'Seifa, Bituma, V'Tayra, the Reisha and Seifa are both speaking of Tuma V'Tayra. For Reisha B'Tuma Skulin, the Seifa V'Tuma Chala. Okay. Let's go over it outside. Look at me, you're going to get the Gemara great, and then we're going to have an Amid base. Mishnah, Shemitah, you can go, Shvius, lend whatever kelim you want, Daka Shalom, comes to working. No, you can't work. Amaretz, problem of Meiser, problem of Tuma, you can lend. Not only can lend, you can even work. What's the difference between the Shemitah that you can't work, this you can work? Says Abaya, very easy. Very, very easy. Most Amaratzim take off Maisa. Most of them do. So that we don't is only Chashash the Rabbanon, Linyan Maisa. So therefore what? The Makar and Chashash the Rabbanon, if they dark a Shalom, they took it away. Go ahead and work. So one's the Raisa, one's the Rabbanon, you're good. Rava gives the same teretz, guys, but Rava doesn't focus on the Maisa part. He focuses on the component of the Amoritz as a problem of Tumah V'Taira. So what are we speaking about? What's the Amoritz over here? It's not the Amoritz of the Chachomim that it's a Maisa problem. It's the Amoritz of Rav Meir. Rav Meir says it's totally a Tumah problem. And what type of Tumah? Chulin, Tumah of Chulin. 1 second. I go, I'm Avasedra. I only heard Tumah by Truma. You're right. Tumah is only by Truma. My Chulin, I can make Matama Chulin, it's not a problem. If Chulin becomes a Rishon, there's no problem in me eating it. Right? There's no problem in me eating it. I can eat it, it's not a problem. No problem. But some people are makbid, right? This Amoritz, right? He's not makbid to eat a Chulin b'tayra. So now it's the Rabbanon. This Amoritz is the Rabbanon. You got a Tumah problem. Therefore, if they die Shalom, let's remove that problem. Good. So now it's the same teretz. The rice of the Rabbanon. This was Shemitah. This is this. But now, as opposed to a Baya it was a Maisa problem, according to Rava, it's a Tumah problem. Okay, everything's great. Read the Gemara on Rava. Rava, there's a third clause over here. There's Shemitah, there's helping, and then there's 1 second, you can't help. When can't you help? Once the water mixes in with the dough, with the wheat, and you go ahead and mix it. Now there's a chiyuv of separating challah for the kohen. We know challah is considered truma, has the same status of truma. Now there's a tummy dika problem, deraisa, you can't help. But the Gemara is asking, once you went ahead and said it's tumah over here, it must be over here. It was maisa, not truma. And you're saying it's going to Rav Meir. Rav Meir has no problem with the maisa of an Amoritz. So therefore, how can you say that this is speaking of tumah if we introduce tumah here? And for the Gemara, no, this is tumah, this is tumah. This is tumah d'Rabbanan, and this is tumah d'Raisa. Tumah d'Rabbanan, dark shal, you have to help. Tumah d'Raisa, challah, truma, no, you can't help anymore. Once it's mixed, you can't help anymore. That's where we're holding. Okay, and now the Gemara will go ahead and question that, but that's basically Baruch Hashem the two pshatim. Read the Gemara, uriminu. I'll ask you a stira. Okay, let's see a stira. One is able to go ahead and grind, umafkidim, and go ahead and entrust. Eitzel oichle shvius, people who are chayish for eating shmita fruit. The eitzel after this manavir, the eitzel oichle periseim betuma, and even those who eat peris betuma. In other words, this is my produce. I'm working with them. This is my produce. I'm working with them. I can entrust them, and even though they eat shmita and they eat peris betuma, I can entrust them and I can work with them. I can work with them. But I cannot work with oichle shvius, with their own produce. I can't work. Peris betuma. Nor those people go ahead and eat peris betuma, right? And nor those eat peris betuma. So now the eating of peris betuma, right? So what's the kasha over here? The kasha l'chayra is according to Rava. Rava said the Mishnah is speaking where the Isser is a Tumah d'Rabbanan, and therefore you're not able to work, and you're able to help. And what does it say over here? It says over here clearly, Rava, guys, back to the hands. This clause is speaking about the people who treat chul and b'tayra and b'tumah, you could work. Over here, it explicitly says people who eat shvius and oichel peris b'tumah. The havamina fellas is tumah d'Rabbanan. You're not able to help. Kashan Rava. Rava's teretz is when it's the Rabbanan. If they dark shalom, you're able to help. Tumah d'Rabbanan. Over here, we see that tumah d'Rabbanan, you can't help. It says, guys, the third clause, the third line. I'm not able to be toichin. I'm not able to help people with tumah d'Rabbanan. Kasha on Rava, who said you could. What's the answer, guys? It's not speaking about tumah d'Rabbanan, it's speaking about tumah d'Raisa, right? What's the answer, guys? It's not speaking about tumah d'Rabbanan, it's speaking about tumah d'Raisa. Amar Abaye Hasan b'koyin achayshed lechol truma b'tomaskinon. It's not speaking about truma derabanan. It's not speaking truma derabanan, so it's not a kashan rabbah. It's speaking about what? Truma deraisa. Avada by truma deraisa, the guy's chashed you can't help. Rabbi never said other rabbi shmita, which is deraisa. Everyone agrees you couldn't help. Okay, so what's the kasha? Rabbi says the rabbanon you could help. We have a kasha the rabbanon you can't help. The answer is this the rabbanon that you can't help is deraisa, and therefore it's not a problem. It's very interesting. Rabbi is coming to go ahead and help Rava, right? It's very, very not the most common thing, guys. Usually Rabbi and Rava, they're always arguing, right? Here, Rabbi is coming to save Rava's bacon, right? He's coming to go ahead and give him. Okay. Ihachi, if you're telling me it's speaking about Tumah Daraisa, that it's speaking about Tumah Daraisa, Mafkidin, you can go ahead and take Truma Daraisa and entrust the Oichle Truma and Oichle Paris to eat, to go ahead and watch it. Guys, go look at the top line. And we're speaking about a kayin. So you're telling me by a kayin, I can entrust the kayin to watch it. That's what you're saying, right? And he's not going to touch it. He's not going to touch it. That's the kasha now. That's going to be the kasha. We're leading up to the kasha. Ihachi, it's speaking about a kayin. And Tuma Deraisa, Mafkidin, you can trust him. Urimino alesh stira. Mafkidin Truma Eitzel Yisrael Ama Aretz. Lo Eitzel Kayin Ama Aretz. They shall leave by Gaspa. Because the Kayin is accustomed to being at Truma. Fellas, aside from Shalom Kagan on this screen, I only see a bunch of Yisraelim. If you see the word, if you know something's Truma, it's like it has a skull and crossbones on it, like verbatim. You stay away from this. And Shalom Kagan is saying, hey, that's good eating. Like, what are you talking about? Why do I have to stay away from it, right? You don't have to stay away from it. So, therefore, you can entrust Truma to a guy, a Truma, but you can't trust it to a Kayin, not in this case, Shalom. A Kayin who's Choyshed on Tuma, you can't be. So, Fred the Gemara Kasha, how could you tell me that the Ukimta above, where you can entrust it, is speaking about Tuma the Raisa, because it's speaking about Truma, how in the world Mafkidim would be able to entrust him to watch him? Since the Kayin is accustomed to being around Truma and not staying away from him, we have to be chayish that he's going to touch him and be matamid. And for the Gemara, you know what it is? It's a kli cheres. It's a wooden. It's a earthenware kli. It has a cover on it, and it's sealed. We say that it's what mitama from the inside, in most cases, and therefore, even we're chayish that this guy will touch it, he's going to touch it from the outside. If he touches from the outside, it's not a problem. That's so einachinami. The teretz of Rav is a good teretz. The you want to say Rav is the Rabbanon you can't work with? No, you could work with. We have a case that you can't work with. That's truma deraisa. I have truma deraisa. How can you trust the guy to watch it? Because it's summit psil, and therefore you can trust him to watch it. Fred Gemara Belechish Shema Hasitenu Ishtoi Nida. Perhaps his wife, who is a Nida, she'll go ahead and be metama it even without touching it. That's Tumas Hesed. You can be metama a klicheres even without touching it, right? So let's be chayish for that. So now we're back to original question. What's the question? How can you go ahead and say that the Kimta of the first line of the Mishnah is speaking about Truma Deraisa? If it's a kohen that's tamei, right? You can't entrust him to watch it, and therefore you should not be able to be mafked etzloi. Elo amrav Yirmiyah loy kasha kan beperish hochsheroi kan beperish loy hochsheroi. Oh, very good. The top brisa that says mafkid, then you can entrust him, is speaking about payers that were in mukhshar. The brisa says you can't is speaking about payers that were mukhshar. Okay, we're all familiar with this. Let's go over it quickly. You know, payers. It says kiyitin kiyutan. Payers can only go ahead and contract tuma if there is a preparatory step in order to maksha tuma. It has to be touched by one of 7 liquids. Yad, shachat, dam. The nutrican yud, dalit, shachat, dam. One of those 7 liquids, right? Has to trust it, touch it in order to be makabel tuma. I can go ahead, give a box full of dry produce, truma, never mukhshar. I can give it to a kohen, because even if he touches it, it's not going to contract tumah, since it wasn't prepared for tumah. The second brisa that said you can't is speaking of it was prepared. But Rav is held serve. In other words, this is always going back to the question on Rav. How could you go ahead? It says you can't work with a person that's chayish for tumah. Rav says you could. Rav is speaking to Rabbanan, and we answered this is the Raisa. If it's the Raisa, we have a Brisa that says you can't give it to him. Says the Gemara, our Brisa said you can give it to him, is where it wasn't Mukshar. The Brisa that says you could give it to him, it was Mukshar. It was prepared for tumah. So everything right now is Geshmak. Or a minimal issue stira, kuti. If a person goes ahead and brings chitin to a kuti grinder, or he brings his produce to an amaretz grinder, hare elu beches kasan, lemaisa ulishvias. Le'inyan, if it was maisa that you took off maisa, it's considered a tithe already. Shvias, the Indian that it's not shemitah fruit, it's good. Alaloi lituma, but however, not lituma. So therefore, we're chayish le'inyan tuma that he will touch it. So how can you say above that you can trust the person le'inyan tuma deraisa? How is it possible to go ahead and entrust him? So l'chayra, it's a problem. The answer is obvious. So Gemara, hi my room, what's your stira? What? Lavo kimna the perish lehochsheroi, right? And this is perish lehochsheroi. What was your kasha? You said before you can entrust him, he's not going to touch it. Here you see he does touch it there. Before we're speaking about perish, that was a mukhshar, and here we're speaking about perish that were mukhshar. In other words, we're not saying he's not going to touch it. We're saying if he touches it, it's not going to go ahead and be matama. That's all. So therefore, since lehochsheroi, so what's your kasha from over here? You're giving produce that what? That you took off trumas and maisa. You're giving produce that there's not a chashash shmita. You're giving produce that you have to worry about tumah. No, I don't have to worry about tumah. It wasn't muksha. It was the tumah you have to worry about because it was muksha l'kabel tumah. Further with kari or my kari. What were we thinking in the first place? You know, when you have an obvious teretz, the Gemara says, why bother us the kasha? Since I have an obvious teretz, why bother us the kasha? In other words, this is not my ikka kasha. There's a addendum to this brisa. Since it's an addendum to this brisa, I'm asking from the addendum. Here's really what was bothering me. Okay, so in other words, there was three clauses, guys. One, I'm not worried about that they're going to switch it linyan meiser. I'm not worried about they're going to switch it linyan in shvita, and I am worried about tumah. Those were three things. You thought you were asking from tumah. No, that wasn't asking from tumah. Tumah, I know, is not a problem. It was mukhshal l'kabel tumah, and that's the chiluk between our ratio where it wasn't and this. My problem is you gave him produce that was tithed. I'm not worried he's going to switch it. You gave him produce that the zman of beer you don't have to worry about. I'm not worried he's going to switch it. Now we're going to ask on that. So that's why I brought it in. I didn't bring it in for the third tumah part. That I knew the obvious answer that it was mukhshal. Here, I'm worried about, you're saying you don't worry about switching? I'll show you, you should be worried about switching. That's the Gemara. Okay, I show you should be worried about switching. Says the Gemara, where do you see that? Urminu, I'll ask you a stira. Someone gives his shviga, he gives his mother-in-law, who is married to an Amaretz, so she has the status of what? Of an Amaretz. And this person is a chava. This person is a chava. This one, the guy's an Amaretz. Maisa eshehu noisimla. He has to give Maisa what he gives to her because she may eat it. The eshehu noitli mena, and he has to take off Maisa what she gives back because maybe she's going to switch what he gave. Mifnei shechashuda, right? Machlefes hamiskalkeles. We're chayis that what he's going to switch. So l'chayra, why by the toichin aren't you worried? By the toichin, you are not worried. Over here, you are worried she's going to switch. Why? What's the difference? Says the Gemara, Hasam Kititani Taima, right? There's the reason is the following. Guys, Yeshviga, you give tithe stuff. You give Shviya stuff, right? Everything's great. She wants to make a good piece of sourdough challah, and lo and behold, she burns the challah. So what's she going to do? she's going to take her stuff and replace it. It's not pshat, we're chayish, she's going to steal the stuff. We're chayish, she'll be moira heter in a place she doesn't want to get on her daughter shouldn't be embarrassed, and certainly a son-in-law she wants to impress. So therefore, we're chayish. Masha'en came where a person has nothing to gain, such as the miller and who's the kuti, and has nothing to gain, we're not chayish for switching. So when we chayish for switching, when there's a moira hayra, when there's a moira heta, Masha'en came over here, there's a moira heta, we're not. Rav Yehuda roitzehi b'takonas pita u'boishes mechasna. Right? She wants to stay on her daughter's good side and not to embarrass what her son, be embarrassed in front of her son-in-law. Further, Gemara alma loy chashina, and it's not a son-in-law, we're not chayish for switching. But Tanan, we have a Mishnah. And noisin lepundikis, a person gives to an innkeeperess, meiser, eshu noisin la, eshu noitel imena. So now it's not a relative. You're giving the pundikis again. You have to take off meiser what you give to her, and you have to take off meiser what you receive from her. If she's going to switch it. You told me by the miller you're not worried. She's Meir Vamal, Barbe Rav, Lechel Chamima, but not Echel Karira. No, it's the Barbe Rav, he should eat hot, and I should eat, I guess, cold and hot. No, she wants to feed him fresh stuff. She wants to give him something well, right? Barbe Rav, Lechel Chamima, she wants the Barbe Rav to eat hot, and I'll eat the cold. In other words, there's a reason she's being married. Again, she's an Amma Aretz, but that doesn't mean, just because Amma Aretz Yemaisa, doesn't mean Ram Chashivas of a Ben Torah. So this Ben Torah comes, right? She has old stuff that's inside. He has fresh stuff. He has old stuff. She has fresh stuff. With chayish that watch, she's going to switch his stuff, not because, again, she wants to switch, but because just like the mother-in-law wants to be on the good graces of a son-in-law, she wants to go ahead and give chashivas to the ben Torah that she eat fresh stuff. And therefore, but again, stam the miller, we're not chayish. Where there is a svara of being a Maria, being, maraheta, then like the mother-in-law and like the pundikas will be chayish. A regular case, not a mother-in-law, not a pundikas. We're not chayish for switching, but Tanya, Eishes Chavar, the wife of a chav who's makbid v'tumah v'tayra, Hoichenes, she can grind. Im Eishes Amma Aretz, she can help the Eishes Amma Aretz with her grinding. Bisman shehi tameya. That's when the Eishes Chava in the days that she's tamei. Avaloi bisman she tahira, but she can't go ahead in the time when she's tahar. When she's tamei, she can help. Says Rashi, the bottom Rashi. Bisman she tameya. Eishes Chava, the kimin the made tuma. Ain't a regila liga b'tyrus. Since she's tamei, she's not going to touch tyrus. Loy chashina shema titel v'titin le'techpia. Not chayish that maybe the Eishes Chava is going to take it and put it in her mouth. Again, you're worried that she's helping the Amma Aretz. The Amma Aretz did not tithe her stuff. The Amma Aretz did not tithe her stuff. We're not worried that the Eishes Chava is going to take it and put it in her mouth. Why? Because the Eishes Chava is tamei, right? Masha'en came when she is b'tayra, right, and she puts things in her mouth. With chayish, she's going to take it, right, and put it in her mouth. Shimon Elazar, even the time that she is tamei, even the time she is tamei, she shouldn't be, because even though she won't put it in her mouth, why do we chayish that the Amaretz, the woman Amaretz, will give her? Guys, when she's giving her, she's stealing from her husband. This is Rashi's pshat, right? And then what? And we're chayish that the Eishes Chava now will eat stuff that's tamei. Hashta, right? Hashta minga goniv. She's the Eishes Amma Aretz, is ready to go ahead and steal. Aren't we scared that what? She's going to go ahead and switch? So we're being a raya from this case that what? That you would switch. Not so therefore, back to our case of the Miller, why are we worried about switching the Maisa and the Shvius? It says on Rabbi Yosef, Hasanami Moira. Over there, usually a woman will not take stuff. Usually you won't switch. But there's another svar of Moira. What's the Moira there? Amar, Moira, Midisha Kachal. Right? There's an Issa guys of like Sachsim Shabedishar. when the shore is threshing, you got to go ahead and let it work. This woman is going ahead, what she's doing. She's working for me. She's grinding with me. She's schwitzing away. I shouldn't give her something, so I'll give her something. So again, going back to the case of grinding, which we asked questions from. When you grind, we're not chayish, there's going to be a switcheroo. Linyan tumah we are, because it's muksha, and you'll touch it. So touching we are chayish, but switching we're not chayish. For the Gemara, a modern loy chayish was switching, and for the Gemara, we're really not chayish was switching. We're switching only Mara that she wants to feed him something good and not something poor. Same kasha from Pundikis, same teretz. Same kasha from Ashes Amaretz, putting food in the mouth of an Ashes chava, right? Putting mouth of Ashes chava. So you see, if she'll steal, she'll switch. No, she won't steal, she won't switch. Svara being should be Moira saying, you know what? This person's working hard. I have to feed her b'shas malacha. I wish everyone a great day. It's been a pleasure.